no identification.
He thought it was a cute idea to try running from me, huh?
Running from you or someone else?
If I don't walk out of here before tonight, there'll be no building left for me to walk out of, and there'll be no town left for you to watch over.
Good afternoon, James. Good morning. I'm not sure where you are now. How are you doing?
I am 10:53 a.m.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah.
Good
It's
morning.
almost 7 in the evening over here. How are you doing, sir? Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Huge congratulations on the movie. It's it's a really good. It was kind of like an 80s, 90s blast from the past. These kind of confined Rambo-esque type movies. It was great. I loved it to bits.
Oh,
Really, really
good,
well done.
good.
Uh-huh.
Oh, lovely. I
Uh,
see you have Lonesome Dove on your
I
stack
have.
of
I've not
books
started
there.
yet. I've got. It's one of my thick books that I promised myself I'll read this year. So yeah, it's one of the ones I want to get to. I want to read. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a series Lonesome Dove shot in Alberta,
Yeah, there was. I've not seen
Canada,
that either. Yeah, there was a. Yeah.
long time ago. But I digress. I'm glad you liked the movie.
Yeah, no, it's
Uh,
great.
yeah, it was a classic sort of small town modern day Western, little hints of Sergio Leone, and as I always sort of try to throw in moments, and classic, iconic characters, small town fortitude, and just basically stating that anything's possible, no matter
Uh-huh.
where you're from.
Yeah.
Um,
But no, I mean, what really kind of jumped out at me, especially from the word go, was because the two kind of protagonists. If I don't want to give too much away, obviously the two protagonists. You got Charlie Weber and Jon Voight's characters are fantastic. Jon Voight just felt such like a typical kind of grandfather. He just felt so real, so authentic. It was fantastic, and that kind of the juxtaposition between his kind of leaving the sheriff position and kind of leaving the legacy on his son, who's kind of struggling there, really worked so well for me. I thought that was great.
well, the wonderful thing about that is John is somewhat that person. He's everybody's mentor on set, and he's everybody's father, and he's everybody's grandfather. When my daughters come to visit, he immediately, you know, welcomes her. She's 11. Even when we've
Yeah.
gone to LA and visit him in his office, there he is playing basketball with my daughter and taking her out for dinner and her mom and he's just a warm, kind person, but you also get that feeling there's something behind that, like don't fuck with him.
Yeah.
Um, um, which is that again that brilliant small town fortitude,
I,
um, and he really brought that to the screen in this as well. And he and Charlie, of course, had worked together before on The Painter, so they had a pre-existing relationship. Um, And again, they just, it shone on the screen here
Mhm.
too, and with the rest of the cast as well. Really, with the antagonist, James Oliver Wheatley as well. Him and John in the diner, and even some of our supporting roles, Nebly Bassani, who we've had in a couple films now, three films now since Shadowland. Actually, John has worked with Nebly before a couple times, and one of my favorite scenes in this film is very layered with tension, and it's in the parking lot of the diner between John and Nebly, one of the henchmen. And it's a very short scene, but a lot is said between the two of them, just with looks and
Yeah.
with silence,
Yeah,
which I
and in the
really
in the in
love.
the in the cafeteria in the bar as well. There's a lot of looks in there as well. It's sort of just like perfectly. Nothing needs to be said. The looks just say, "Oh, yeah, it's brilliant." Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh,
man, a few words, which is great, and I love that. There's quite a few scripts you see on television and in feature films these days just have a lot to say without needing to have a lot to say.
yeah.
And if an actor can say it with his eyes, that's a testament to their great skill and their inner um, talent and their inner soul that they can emote that way. And John's one of those people. In fact, the rest of the cast, we got really fortunate. Charlie, Lottie, John, Henry. We got very fortunate to get
Yeah,
who we
yeah,
got.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And
I spoke to Henry. Was it yesterday, the day before? No, the day before yesterday. And I spoke to. I'm glad you brought up about the kind of being able to say so much without having to say so much verbally. His character. I mean, obviously, I don't want to give too much away, but he's from the trailer. We know that he's kind of this ex-convict he's kind of a born-again Christian. He's found the grace of God. Like you said there, it's a lot of films, a lot of TV tries to say a lot of things without kind of saying it the way that it needs or maybe over explaining things. Here, obviously, because you don't want him to be too much of an ex-convict and you don't want him to be too preachy at the same time, because a lot of times when I've seen those kind of characters in films, they don't really work for me because they kind of tend to be over preachy or exactly
Mhm,
the opposite. So I'm kind of
mhm.
curious how you found that balance with Henry to make sure that he was neither of those two things.
Well, within the dialogue, his character basically is a man of few words anyway. So when he does say something, it means something to the other characters and to the audience, of course. So we just had to ensure that he didn't go on these, lengthy diatribes.
Yeah.
Um, and so there was a lot of silence. So when the silence is broken, it's meaningful. And Henry really latched onto that. And in between, I mean, we had a lot of fun on set too. My goal was to make Henry laugh because his character was so deep and so, inside himself and
And
serious.
confined
So
as well. Yeah.
yeah, on my phone, I had ready basically on speed dial on YouTube. I had the theme music from E.T. ready to
E.T.
go
I knew
all the
exactly what you were going to
time.
say.
So yeah, so so in between takes, I would just sort of buzz by him. I'd walk by him and do, and I'd walk by, and he'd look at me like, "You asshole," sort of thing like that. So we had this little sparring
Ongoing joke there, yeah.
session going on. So that was a lot of fun. And even on days off, I would one time
Go on
there
to do
was
it.
a full moon in the city we were shooting in, and I zoomed in. I made a little video and made a little do, and where's the bicycle and things like that. And so sort of try to keep it light and entertaining for everybody. And
Uh-huh.
Henry is such a good sport. He embraced that and started throwing it back at me too, which was great.
Brilliant. And something else that I was speaking to about him, he said he doesn't really get a chance to do these kind of action centric films that often. Obviously, there's action, especially towards the end here.
Mhm.
And I was quite curious. I mean, I love how violent. I wasn't expecting to get so violent and so destructive so quickly. Um, I mean, I mean, imagine it's quite a fairly slow budget film, but it just, I mean, I don't want to give anything, but when we start seeing all the destruction that goes on towards the end, that is pretty huge.
Mhm.
How much of that was real, and how much of that was done in post production? Because
The
it
majority of
looks
it,
it
the
looked like it was all
majority of
done
it,
on camera.
yeah, yeah, the majority of it was real. I insisted because of the nature of this film. It's a very grounded film. It's not grounded in visual effects, special effects. There's no superheroes flying around or
Yeah,
laser beams coming out of anybody's eyeballs or anything like that. So, as I stated previously, it's a modern day Western. Um, so with that comes a certain texture and tonality that you want to emote onto the screen, and part of that texture and tonality is the splinters, the destruction, and at the house, which you see the squibs, um, the bullets shredding through the side of the house and embedding and into different parts of the house and narrowly missing our characters in the diner. Same thing. I was very, very adamant that we took the time to do things practically. Doing things practically takes a lot more time on set, and doing a reset, we had to be very surgical with how we plan this
yeah. I
so
imagine because
that
if
we didn't have to
one
go
step out of
back.
line, you have to start from scratch now. So I mean, I can't imagine how precise you have to be to make sure you get it at least. I think you had two shots. Is that right? I think Henry told me you had two shots for the house, for example, and kind of you had
It
to
depends
take what you could
on
get from there.
which piece, but yeah, one of the pieces, sometimes we had one take, depending on what it
Yeah,
was. So we had to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and luckily I had great actors like Henry who really embraced the safety, um,
hmm
and at the same time embrace the drama within the safety, because you can just be
sure.
safe, but then it's not cinematically appealing. Um, but Henry's been involved in action before, and so has everyone else who was on the film.
Yeah.
So it was very symbiotic sort of experience. Even Jon Voight is 86 years old, and he
Oh yeah,
got
but no, he's done all
shot.
sorts of stuff. I remember him in Anaconda and all these different things. Yeah, he's done plenty of
Yeah.
action movies. Yeah,
Oh, he and I can, again on set, we can be found shadowboxing with each other and kind of sparring.
yeah.
And so I call him Champ um, on set from back in the day. And he's still got it. He even, actually, I think on this film, he even clipped me. We were sparring and I'm playing around with him. And he was like, he tagged me on set. And I'm like, wait a minute, you just touch me? So he can move, and he got shot in this one and got squibbed and blood spray and everything, and he wants to do it. He
Yeah,
wants to be in it, which is magnificent. Not every actor wants that, even some of the 25-year-olds.
sure. They don't want any marks on their face now. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
I wanted to ask also. I mean, obviously, because you've got a stuntman's background,
Mhm.
I'm quite curious. I mean, just from your own perspective, do you think that you approach shots in a specific way because of your background as a stuntman? Because I was asking Henry the day if he kind of felt that it was your direction was kind of different to what he was maybe used to because of your background. How do you think
Mhm.
you approach it? Do you think you approach it more from a stuntman's perspective more? I mean, obviously you want it all to have a cinematic appeal, like you said at the same time. But I imagine at the same time, when it comes to the action, you're also thinking about kind of the fights and everything else, having not just visual but a physical. Um, I don't know what I'm to say. You want to have a kind of a visual attraction for the people that are watching it. No, you want them to
a,
kind of really
a
believe
dynamic a dynamic
exactly. Yeah,
nature, yeah, gritty dynamic nature. Yeah, I'm all about it being somewhat balletic, but at the same time, and especially in a film like this that's rooted in realism. It needs to feel real. What did Henry say?
yeah, good question. I can't remember now. I've still got to edit it. Yeah, because I was speaking to, but I can't remember what he said now. I honestly can't believe I can't remember what he said to me now.
He probably said it was magnificent.
Oh yeah, but no, he didn't. He didn't really say it was anything particularly that struck him as being completely
Different.
different to anything that he'd done with the directors. No, not really.
Yeah, no, I'm just very specific when it comes to actions. So what I ask of the stunt teams, depending on who they are, I educate myself on what they're capable of, and what they can bring us safely, and cinematically on set, and then I push them to, their limits, to craft the shots and to craft the physicality within the shots. Um, but yeah, that's the main thing I would say. The difference with me is I'm incredibly specific when it comes to the action. What I'm asking of the stunt guys, I'm getting better at not micromanaging, as I one time used to get in there and start moving people around and go, put your hand over here and then turn your fist, and
Yeah,
that sort of thing. So I try to step back and you know, let the guys do what they do.
sure.
And But I will be very specific on, I want this sort of a jujitsu armbar, or what have you, certain techniques, if I want to see them within the framework of the screen. I'll ask for it, and
Yeah,
I'll say I want the fight to start here and work its way through the house and end up here, and this is what I want the camera to do, and blah blah blah. Whereas a lot of directors who aren't versed in action will basically just step back. When I was the stunt coordinator, they would step back and give me the set and say, "Go ahead, it's all yours." I do that sometimes when I've seen, when the stunt team has, earned my respect enough for me to be able to do that, and I love to be able to do that. There's some great stunt teams out there that I've worked with that I know that it's safe with them. I step back, I'll come in and say, "Can you please adjust this or that or what have you?" But I try to let people do their job, and allow it to be a collaborative effort. So even with the actors as well, because they know their character better than anyone. I leave it open for an actor to say, "Well, I don't think he or she would do this or that. It's unrealistic based on, my backstory, etc."
Yeah.
So, I guess that's the difference. Specificity.
Jeff, you're going to pull me out in a second. Just to finish off, obviously, you are obviously one of the most prolific directors going right now. I mean, I don't know how many films you've done in the last couple of years, at least.
8.
So you must have 8. So you must have quite a few things on the go right now. What can you tell us about what's coming up in the near future?
Well, High Ground's released on March 18th, I believe, which is Tuesday, next Tuesday. Down the pipe, we have The Last Gunfight coming up from myself and Stephen Paul and team. Also, and then after that, we have another film called The Internship that we just completed, and it's currently in post. So those 3 for me, I believe, and there's other irons in the fire to for production, of course.
It's an insane amount of work. Yeah,
coffee,
plenty of coffee. Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, I can't wait for people to see this film. I can't wait to see the next one as well that you just mentioned. And I hope to speak to you again sometime soon, James. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks so much, Howard.
Take care. Have a good day.
Okay.
3, 2,